I'm really excited to be here. I'm not going to incorporate poetry the way I did last time. I'm just going to incorporate it while I am speaking to y'all about our topic today, which is gifts. I came to tell you that you have a gift. Yes, you do. You have a gift. And you have a gift that the world needs, so quit sitting on it and get up. And you may think, well, believe I don't have a gift. No, you do. You do. You have a gift and you need to start working on it, start refining it, start practicing your craft. And as much as it is a cliche, practice makes perfect. Before I wrote the book that I have now, Becoming a Revolution, it was not my first book. In fact, I have a list. My first book was Dear Self, Dear Society, and I wrote that in August 2017. It was a poetry collection. And then I started working on a novel called The Therapist in October of 2017. And then I wrote Becoming a Woman, and then I wrote Becoming a Queen, and then I wrote Becoming a Revolution. So if we count that up, that's four books that I had started before I got to Becoming a Revolution. 4 books. And during that time, I also wrote separate poems. I wrote letters. I wrote different things that helped to refine my writing. And so practice is necessary. You have to refine your craft. You have to take the time to sit and be like, okay, I'm going to work on this thing. I'm going to practice this thing. Perfection is not what we're seeking. We're seeking excellence. All right, I went ahead and pulled up the definition for both of them. So perfection, according to Google, is the condition, state, or quality of being free or as free as possible from all flaws or defects. The action or process of improving something until it is faultless or faultless as possible. However, excellence is the quality of being outstanding or extremely good, an outstanding feature or quality. All right? So perfection and excellence are 2 different things. What we're striving for is not perfection. What we're striving for is excellence in our craft, is excellence in every single thing that we do. Because as Mike Todd likes to say, this journey of life is a journey of progression and not perfection, right? It is impossible for us as human beings to achieve perfection because we're humans. We are flawed. How can a flawed being do something perfectly? You know, that's a question to ask ourselves, right? And so what we're striving for is not perfection, but excellence in our craft. I was talking to one of my friends earlier and I was like, yo, how much do you practice every week? And he's like, yeah, a couple hours a day. And I was like, oh snap, that's a lot. He works to improve his weaknesses and he works to improve the areas where he's not as good, but he also works to refine his areas of strength. And I felt that's something that we can apply to our lives and apply to our gifts, is working on our areas of weakness and then excelling and refining our areas of strength. And so that's something I want to encourage you guys to do, is to refine and practice your craft. Practice. As my friend said, practice hours a day. I remember, I didn't really think of it as practice, but I would spend hours writing. It wasn't just a once in a moment thing where I just jumped. I'm like, hey, I'm gonna write a book, and it was good. No, I had to practice. I had to work on it. Even now, I'm working on my 2nd and 3rd book. But before I even finished my 2nd and 3rd book, I worked on 2 quarantine journals. I wrote essays for school. Even that is practice for me, just because my skill and my gift is writing. And so I wrote essays, I wrote letters, I wrote poems, I wrote everything. You know, I was working on my grammar, I was working on wordplay, I was working on different things. In my quarantine journal, I worked on my very first sestina, which is something that I've been wanting to do so much because I love this sestina by Rach Jackson and it's so good. But I was like, I want to write one, I want to learn one. And so I did. I went ahead and wrote a sestina and it wasn't perfect. It sucked. To be frankly honest, it was terrible. I was like, hey, I'm going to work on it. I'm going to put work into it and I'm going to keep practicing it because this is something I want to get good at, but it has to start somewhere. You have to decide that, hey, I'm going to start today and I'm going to practice my craft. I'm going to refine it. I'm going to work on my areas of weakness and I'm going to excel in my areas of strength. I do want to eventually go on book tours and I do want to eventually speak more. Even through YouTube, I'm working on my speaking skills. Even when I give speeches, I'm working on my public speaking skills. When I'm talking to people, I'm working on my communication skills, my interpersonal skills. So every little thing that you do can be working towards your goal. And so just be intentional. Okay, secondly, this is second, y'all. Secondly, observe others. This is so significant. Observe others and be inspired. Observing others that have done the craft for a really long time, or worked on, who are just at a different level than you, or also at a different style than you, is so essential, because you can get inspired, you can learn from them, you can learn from their mistakes. As people like to say, there are two ways to learn: through wisdom or experience. And you don't always have to experience the mistakes to learn. As I like to say, be inspired, not possessed. You're like, believe, what does that mean? Be inspired, no, not possessed, means that you want to be inspired by others, but you don't want to plagiarize. You don't want to copy from them. You want to be inspired by their writing, but you don't want to say, okay, I'm going to like steal their whole style, or I'm going to steal their whole writing. That's not what you want to do. You want to be like, oh, that's pretty cool. Let me learn from that. Don't plagiarize. Don't copy. Don't be possessed by the other writer, because your writing is enough. And one of her poems in here inspired me, and I'll show you how I was inspired, kind of like the parallel, and I'm trying to give you an example of what it means to be inspired but not possessed. I have it circled at the bottom. I don't know if you can see this, okay? You took the sun with you when you left, and that's it. You took the sun with you when you left. And so I was just like, huh, that's really cool. That's a really cool two-liner. But I was like, that's too short. That's just way too short for me. Like, what else? Like, you took the sun with you when you left. And so I was inspired by that. I thought that was a really cool two-liner, so I wrote my own. When you come back, bring my sun back. The flowers have died. When you come back, bring the moon back. The tides haven't appeared in a long time. When you come back, bring the fire back. I need to melt this heart of ice. When you come back, bring the water back. The oceans have run dry. When you come back, bring the truth back. I'm tired of living lies. When you come back, bring me back. This body is not mine. And so I was inspired by that. I was just like, okay, you took the sun with you when you left. So what happens when you come back? So when you come back, bring my sun back. The flowers have died. And so I went with it. I ran with it. And that's what I mean when I say be inspired, not possessed. So big reason that a lot of people tend to plagiarize, and a lot of people tend to copy, a lot of people tend to take the style and the way that other people do things in their craft, is because they're not comfortable with themselves. So be comfortable with you. Be comfortable with your gift. Your gift is enough, and you are enough. And that's something I want you to remember. If you don't catch anything that I say, catch this. Your gift is enough, and you are enough. So be confident in that, which leads me to my next point. You asked the question, so why should I refine my craft? Why should I practice my craft? Why should I spend all this time on this gift? Number one, you get better. If you put hard work and you put effort and you really want to get better, you will get better. You get confident in yourself. You get confident in your gift. Why? Because you spent time with it. You spent time developing it. You spent time refining and practicing those skills. And I can give you an example myself. For me, in sixth grade, so I like to use sixth grade, but I actually started writing poetry at the end of fifth grade. But I wrote like 2 poems at the end of fifth grade. So I like to use sixth grade as my starting year. So in sixth grade, it was for me. It wasn't intended for an audience of anybody else but me, because there was a lot of healing that I needed to go through. I needed to heal from a lot of hurt. Shout out to the people that were there reading my poetry during that time, because it sucked. It was terrible. It was so bad. But hey, I was still practicing my craft. Even though it was bad, I was getting better throughout the year. It wasn't plenty good at the end of the year. In 7th grade, before I start, God gives everyone a gift. I'm convinced that you have a gift. And it's not always tangible or physical. It's not always singing. It's not always dancing. It's not these things that you feel like are more common. It's not always being good at a sport. It can be like as simple as compassion. If you have an uncommon compassion or an uncommon love for people, that's a gift. In 7th grade, I got serious about my relationship with God, and As I said, everyone has a gift, but if you allow God to develop your gift, it becomes an accelerated process. It becomes better. It becomes deeper in a short amount of time. It becomes more meaningful. In 6th grade, I was so quick to share it with everyone. In 7th grade, I didn't care for that anymore. And then my teacher forced me to do a contest. Shout out to you, Miss Cross. I didn't want to do it because I was putting myself out there, and I was just like, no, I really don't want to do it. But I went ahead and submitted my poem, and y'all, I didn't even like expect anything from it, because first it was a citywide contest and it was ages 11 to 21. So in my head, I was 13. I was like, there's no way a 13-year-old could ever win that contest, or could ever even get 2nd place, 1st place, 3rd place, whatever. I couldn't ever get that 21-year-old, me beat a 21-year-old. That didn't make sense to me, right?
Could somebody please make it make sense?
Lo and behold, a couple months passed by. I totally forgot about it. They were like, yo, you won 3rd place. And I was just like, excuse me, what? Repeat that again? Huh? What?
No way. I want to see the receipts.
So I won 3rd place. The 1st place winner was a 17-year-old. The 2nd place winner was a 20-year-old. And I was there. 3rd place, 13. It looks so weird. Here's me. Look. It's me. It's called I'm Painting the World with Peace. And I am 13. I hope you can see that. But yeah, it was a really small anthology, but I was so proud of this. It was really exciting for me. It really opened my eyes, because there's no way, if it wasn't a gift, that I would win 3rd place. There's just no way, because I was too young. It wasn't something that I'd been working on for years. I'd literally been working on it for maybe a year and a half. I was so grateful. I remember going back and I was like, yo, I got published in an anthology, and I was like, Lord, thank you. Because I'm Painting the World with Peace. I'm going to go ahead and read it to y'all because it's one of my favorites. I wish I could say I've never experienced violence, but I've seen my motherland refuse to give birth to fruit because too much innocent blood has poured into her roots. We've learned to make beauty out of blood. Red and burgundy are the only colors we see, no more blue or yellow or green. Everything bleeds these days. I've stopped identifying whose dead body is laying on the earth and what kind of death they suffered through. Instead, I make murals out of their blood. It's my way of honoring the dead, remembering the heroes who never got a memorial, but I am tired of burying dead bodies. There's no more room in this cemetery. I need to breathe. I want to say I've never experienced violence, but red and burgundy are the only colors this world bleeds, and I refuse to let it be. I am painting the sky with blue, decorating it with stars of kindness, embracing diversity and madness. I'm planting seeds of love so the flowers of beauty can grow again. I'm rinsing oppression out of the earth, baptizing her in fire and water. I'm gathering her children in my arms, teaching them the song of freedom, reminding them that it is their battle cry, and they were born with it. So as long as they scream it, nobody can take it away from them. So 8th grade, which is the last year I'm going to be talking about today, was a year about pushing me out of my comfort zone, pushing me so far out of my comfort zone. A year of new things, a year of new relationships. I got to explore just people, and one specific event, I got to know this person who was in my 7th grade class, and all we were known for was like bickering with each other. That year in 8th grade, I got to know him. I got to become friends with him. He was one of my closest friends, and I got to know more about him and about his character. The way I got to know him was because there was this orchestra room that I'd go in and I'd read a couple of my poems in there. And so like he walked in while I was reading a poem, and he listened. And after I was like, hey, you stayed out, that's pretty cool. And we got to like form a friendship. And it just reminds me of like the scripture that your gift will make room for you and bring you before great men. But my gift made room for me and brought me before somebody that I never thought I'd form a relationship with. So I wanted to read a couple of verses on gifts, and I just want to read 2 for today. It says Proverbs 18:16, the one I just mentioned. A man's gift makes room for him and brings him before great men. And that's in the New King James Version. And then 1 Peter 4:10, as each one has received a gift, minister it to one another as good stewards of the manifold grace of God. And so even as I was working on my book, I never thought it would become possible for it to be published the way it was. But as I was working on my book and as I was growing deeper with the Lord, and just learning to be comfortable in different topics and dabbling in different topics that I didn't even want to touch with a 10-foot stick, because as I said, 8th grade was a year of pushing me out of my comfort zone. So the Lord was using that to heal me. And with the anthology, I was like, oh my goodness, like this could be bigger, this could be impacting other people. Because later on in 8th grade, a 7th grader said, hey, are you the Believe that was published in the anthology? And I was like, yeah, that's me. And she was just like, oh my goodness, like that was one of my favorite poems and it really touched me and really helped me. And I was like, like this could be bigger than me. It doesn't have to be just me. This gift doesn't have to stay within me. It doesn't have to stay in my house. It doesn't have to stay in this classroom. It can go out. It can go out into the world. And that's what made me start writing the book like 7th grade summer or towards the end of 7th grade year. As I was working on becoming a revolution, I thought, this has to be bigger than staying in my house. It has to be bigger than staying in my city. This has got to be bigger than staying in my classroom. It has to be. I felt it. I felt that this book was way bigger and it was meant for more than just staying in my house and staying in my city and staying in my church and staying in my classroom. And so I kept working on it, and lo and behold, God was opening door after door, like beyond the classroom. I was going to church and I was speaking, I was reading poems in front of the church, in front of the youth group, in front of events, in front of other church, and I just knew like this, there has to be something more. And long story short, we went to a winter conference and we met Mr. and Mrs. Lolo, which helped launch the whole thing. And it was so crazy because a couple months after that, like a lot of things happened and I had my book and I just thought, wow, to think it started in 6th grade from a place of really just a lot of hurt, and God decided like, hey, I'm gonna bring this gift into her life to heal her. But she doesn't know it, but this gift is gonna do more than heal her. And it's going to go out and touch the lives of other people. What I want to stress today is you don't know what your gift is going to do. You don't know the people your gift is going to touch. You don't know the people your gift is going to reach. You don't know the people you're going to reach. You don't know the lives that are going to be changed if you would just sit and if you would just start now, if you would just work on practicing your gift, if you would just refine it, if you would just put effort and time and hard work into it. It's not easy, but you have to be willing to put hard work. You have to be willing to put effort. You have to be willing to put time. You have to have a heart that's on fire, that's passionate about this thing, that's passionate about reaching people, that's passionate about touching lives. And you think like, how can I touch lives with this? You can. Your gift was designed to touch lives. Your gift was designed to reach the world. Your gift was designed to change the world, to shake the nations, and you need to understand that. So that's what I'm trying to stress today, is to start now, because your gift can and will change the world. And that's all I have to say for today. Thank you for staying. Thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. I had been asked in 6th grade by this kid to write a poem about chicken, and I actually did it. So that's a fun fact. Shout out to you, Eric. Even though you did it to make fun of me, I appreciate it. It stretched me because I was like, I can't write about chicken, and he's like, you have to. And so I did it.